It's December 2013, the end of another year of relentless deployments to Afghanistan for the men and women of the SAS. They're letting their hair down in the Grotto, their private bar next to the regiment's base in Perth. The mood appears fun and light, but there's something dark about the lyrics these soldiers are belting out.
The whole thing is shocking and shit and horrible. Just bad memories. Honestly, it's awful. That shit culture that, you know, I actually probably bought into it as well at the time. That's the truth.
Dusty Miller was an SAS combat medic in Afghanistan in 2012, a deployment in which he says some of his comrades thought they could get away with anything, including murder.
So I saw unlawful killings, you know, Afghan civilians killed on a few occasions, numerous occasions. What I saw was appalling and it affected me profoundly.
Dusty Miller wasn't at this booze-up, but he remembers his comrades singing Getting Away With It by the British band James, both at home in Perth and on deployment in Afghanistan.
It was a song that it fitted perfectly. It was like you know, it was just a little bit of you know, tap of the nose, a nod. Yeah, it was very significant, it was almost a theme song.
Yeah, it really did become an anthem.
This woman was an SAS support staff member who managed all the videos and images brought back by Special Forces from operations during her deployment to Afghanistan in 2011-2012. We are not able to show her identity. She too heard the song sung many times.
It's highly probable that they were talking about getting away with murder in Afghanistan when they were singing that song.
And when you hear that song now, what does that bring back for you?
Oh, yeah, look, it rattles me, you know, like, it's difficult to listen to.
Turn round! While the Australian public was kept largely in the dark about what the Special Forces were doing in Afghanistan, these soldiers were keeping their own record of their operations, one infused with very dark humour. This is a video of a 2007 deployment edited together and set to music by the men of the SAS themselves.
This is the Fat Lady's Arms Bill.
The video doesn't just show the SAS out on operations. This is the Fat Lady's Arms, which for years was the SAS bar at their base in Afghanistan, a place the brass claimed it never knew about.
It's pretty hard to hide two rooms that have made into one with a sign on the door saying the Fat Lady's Arms. To say that they didn't know about it was ridiculous.
I certainly was the drunkest I've ever been in Afghanistan. I was so drunk that I was potentially borderline alcohol poisoning. You know, the next day, you know, my lips were like this bluish purple. I had pins and needles all over my body. Obviously a lot of drinking, some fights. I remember one night there was a confiscated motorcycle that was taken off some Afghan. Somebody was doing donuts in there with it. Yeah, it was pretty wild, yeah.
Regular soldiers deployed to Afghanistan could never get away with this because no one was supposed to drink on deployment, let alone to excess. But Dusty Miller argues that no one was sent out to do what the SAS did.
I think it's very easy for everybody to sit back and judge in the comfort of their homes in an armchair, but what we were doing was very dangerous work, you know, and you know, people lost their lives, people were hurt, maimed, injured.
But there were also self-inflicted casualties inside the Fat Lady's Arms, like the time an SAS patrol commander sliced open the arm of another soldier.
He was testing his knife out. He'd got a new knife, or it was his favourite knife or something, and for some reason he felt the need to test it on this other person, this other soldier's arm, which ended up in like a good dozen stitches. But yeah, on a few occasions it would be like fairly debaucherous, you know, everybody got involved, and yeah, they'd just ask me to, you know, give them fluids, you know, IV fluids, because they were that hungover.
Then there was the infamous prosthetic leg, taken from an Afghan man killed during a raid, which, used as a novelty drinking vessel, would come to represent the broken, arrogant culture of the SAS.
Really, belonging was very important to me, and so when the prosthetic leg was handed to me, I did drink out of it, which is deeply regrettable, and it's you know, completely disrespectful to the people of Afghanistan, and certainly the person who owned the leg, regardless, irrespective if he was a Taliban fighter or not.
These videos show how Australia's most elite soldiers became unaccountable, able to write their own rules, largely because of ineffectual or absent leadership. This isn't just about drinking in an illicit bar or out of a prosthetic leg or singing a song. It's how this behaviour extended to what happened out on the patrols, how some thought they could get away with breaking other rules, like the laws of war.
It promotes a culture of we're untouchable, we're above it all.
As well as the fat lady's arms, the brass also failed for years to see what was under their nose back at the SAS base in Perth. Just a stone's throw from the commanding officer's residence, the grotto has been the scene of some wild fun and games, like Nude Twister competitions, activities completely at odds with Defence's core values. Here in 2012, an SAS operator and 2 strippers are battling it out for honours, in front of a crowd of dozens of soldiers and guests.
I certainly did witness Twister. Again, ridiculous, you know. And at the time I might have been having a drink and cheering, but it's not something that I would ever, you know, indulge in or get involved in. It's just disgraceful behaviour.
Directly to your front, 2 guys moving right to left, behind the wall!
There is no doubt the soldiers of the SAS performed a dangerous and highly specialised role in Afghanistan. But the regiment's culture also deteriorated over time, with some arguing that the drinking and carousing was part of a dangerous moral slide that led to darker and more deviant behaviour.
The problem that they had at SASR was the attitude that you could do anything you wanted as long as you weren't caught. And that's what really drove the issues that occurred in relation to the drinking and everything else that happened.
As last year's Brereton Report into Special Forces war crimes in Afghanistan found, things like SAS drinking and the operation of the fat lady's arms compromised ethical leadership and led to soldiers disregarding behavioural norms. In response to that, Defence has vowed to reform Special Forces values and behaviour, and to tackle what it calls the culture of elitism that led the SAS to believe that the standard rules did not apply to them.
Then you're allowing excessive drinking, you're allowing brawls, punch-ups, you know, you're allowing bullying. You know, all those things that the Army work hard on trying to promote against were almost encouraged in that environment. And the message was simply like, we're sort of getting away with it. And sometimes you don't get away with it.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.